Hi, welcome back. Brendan here. But today I've got something very different. I've got an interview with Ash Jones from the Chaps Guide channel. And before I let Ash come in, I'm going to just say you need to check out this channel. It was one of the channels that sort of inspired me to get started on YouTube, but also learn a ton of stuff off the channel on all things to do with men's grooming, men's style, and it's just a really, really healthy place to consume some content. So definitely check that one out. I'll put the link in the description. And Ash, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. How are you doing?
Brendan, it is my pleasure to be here. Absolutely so. And yeah, do you know what? I realized the other day it was the 20th anniversary of YouTube.
Wow.
And I think I opened my channel about 5.5 years ago. So I thought, crikey, I've been around for like a quarter of the length of YouTube's existence, which I know is still not that long. But
Mm, mm.
yeah, it's a journey for all of us. And I'm still on it. I find it quite a cathartic experience, to be honest,
Yes.
being on YouTube, because it makes me live up to the lifestyle that I'm trying to project to people to a degree. And
Mm.
it's propelled me into more learning and more understanding of maybe the spheres in which I'm interested in. So it's a
Yeah.
two-way thing. I think you'll find the journey is a two-way thing. It's obviously great to share your part of yourself with the folks who are interested, but also you'll find yourself growing as well, which is a good two-way experience.
It really is. I'm finding that I'm very early on the journey, but I totally see that you get something back just from producing, but you also, it's great to listen and learn to your people as well, isn't it? That's really important.
Oh, totally. And as time goes on, you build friends. I've certainly built proper friendships with people. I often have meetups when I can because, I meet up in London with guys. We'll go and have a few beers. We'll have events that we'll meet up.
Mm.
And, and I think my channel's got about 87,000 subscribers, which is relatively small
Amazing.
in the YouTube world.
Yeah.
But what I like about it is enough to know the guys who are involved with what you're doing and know their names and actually follow their lives as they interact with yours. And it's a beautiful experience if done
Yeah.
right.
No, I love that. Well, I definitely want to ask you about your sort of favorite watches and fragrances, seeing as they are two core pillars of my channel. But I also wanted to ask you about your experience with the bespoke shirts, Turnbull and Asser, because I was jealous. I was listening to you and I was like, I think you shared before you bought them that was sort of one of the grail things that you wanted to do. And I was like, yeah, I love that. I love the concept of that. Saying that, I'm coming to you with a, black polo shirt inspired by Steve Jobs and so on and so forth. But that's another story. But yeah, like give us a bit of a lowdown of that experience if you would. It sounded like a really cool thing to do.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's still an ongoing thing, to be honest, because
Okay.
we haven't reached the end of our journey with Turnbull and Asser because it's a long thing. But it started for me in February of this year. So we're recording this obviously in April. So a few months ago, I've always loved the idea of the Turnbull and Asser experience. I mean, part of it is the James Bond connection.
Yeah.
Part of it is the Royal Warrant. When you see the King wearing, his suit and tie, you know that it's a Turnbull and Asser shirt that he's wearing. It's the association with movie stars. My
Yeah.
favorite movie star is David Niven. He was a proper gentleman and he was also a customer of Turnbull and Asser, as were pretty much every movie star in history.
Mm.
So there was that connection. And I've walked up and down Jermyn Street for decades,
Yeah.
thinking to myself, one day, one day. And you get to a point when you think, well, that one day is now or never, because, who knows when you don't get another one day. So I made a decision on my birthday, my 55th birthday. I thought, right, let's do it. I got, I've been saving up. I'm not flush with money, but it's something that I could afford, which is important whenever you're doing anything in the sartorial world. Never leave yourself short. Never go into debt to look good or wear a wristwatch.
Agree. Yeah.
Make sure you've got financial stability before you do anything. But I went into Turnbull and Asser. I'd gone up with my family. We made an event of it. So we stayed in Claridge's and,
Oh,
we
nice.
went down to TNA, had the appointment down in Prince of Wales room downstairs where
Mm.
the public don't generally go, the bespoke area. And it is exactly as you might imagine. You meet this gentleman who is wearing an immaculate suit, takes you into the back room. There are images of all of the previous customers, or, the famous ones anyway,
Mm,
on the wall, all the kings and all this sort of thing, James Bonds.
mhm.
And you feel you're imbued with this tradition and this heritage. And it's almost overwhelming. You feel I absolutely was getting strong hints of imposter syndrome because you're thinking, should I be here?
Yeah.
I don't feel right. I'm just an ordinary working class guy who ground my way through life. Should I be in this room? And it's not at all like that. They very much bring you down to earth. There's a measuring process. There's reams and reams and reams of materials, hundreds, probably thousands that you can choose from. When you start off, you've got to order 4 shirts. So it's the minimum order is 4. And they're around about 600 quid each. So it's not a cheap
Yeah,
endeavor, but
sure.
everything is expensive if you look at it through the right lens. Um, so you pick one shirt first that you want to have. And of course, you choose everything from the collar to the cuffs to the placket, the buttons, the full
Mm,
works. And you choose your material. And then they make one up for you and it gets sent to you, and that's your tester, right? So it's one of the 4 shirts that you're going to buy,
mhm,
but it's the first one. They make one first, they send it to you, they ask you to wash it and wear it at least 3 times. So go through the laundry system 3 times, so that the material is shrunk and settled, and for you to be sure that's the perfect fit.
mm.
So that's what I did. I went for a white shirt because that's what I often wear, and I thought it'd be a good start. So the white shirt turned up. I wore it. It was all right, and I thought to
Yeah.
myself, it's all right. It's not 600 quid's worth of all right. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And I thought, I don't know what I was expecting, because I'm an average size guy. I can take a shirt off the rack because
Sure.
I'm a 15 and a half collar. I can wear a 15 and a half inch collar from any manufacturer and it's all right
Mm.
because I'm a medium sized guy. So I thought, I don't know. I don't know whether I'm feeling it. Right. So I
Right.
was back in London a little over a week ago and I thought, I'll call in. I wore the shirt. I'll call into Turnbull and Asser and I'll just ask them how do they think it fits because it's all very well me saying I think it's okay, but I'm not a bespoke shirt expert.
Yeah.
So I'll call in, I'll off the cuff, just walked in into the bespoke area and I said, "What do you think?" I walked in, different guy in there this time, and he stripped me off and he said, "I'm not happy with that shirt. I don't think it's perfect." And I said, "Well, I'm kind of feeling the same." And he said, "Right, take the shirt off, we'll start again." He actually gave me the shirt. He said, "This isn't part of your commission. This is a free shirt. Do what you want with it." He said, "Donate it to charity," as if I was really going to do that. And he said, we'll start from scratch. It's a total breakdown. We'll start again. And I'm just waiting for that second shirt to arrive now. So I went from thinking, I don't know whether this is
Yeah.
worth the investment to thinking, my God, these guys are on the ball. The
Yes.
shirt that I'm going to end up with or the number of shirts that I'm going to end
Yeah.
up with are going to be my perfect shirt. And they
Okay.
totally restored my confidence in their excellence on my last visit the other day. So
Nice.
they
Well,
appear
we'll have
to
to do a
be
follow-up,
everything
won't we?
they appear to be everything they're cracked up to be, but we will
Yeah.
wait to see.
Well, when you've got the full pack, well, let's do a little catwalk
Oh,
parade.
for sure. For sure. Yeah. I mean, they're meant to be lifetime shirts, 20-year shirts. So it
I
might be the
think
last
I
ones I
think
need to
that's
buy.
that's the thing though. You sort of you're buying that, aren't you? You're buying that history, you're buying that brand, you're buying that service and experience. It's not just a shirt, a 15 and a half inch collar, is it? You're buying that whole piece and
Oh,
there's
yeah.
something more special than that.
I'll give you an example of what it was like. So I've got loads of Turnbull and Asser shirts, but I've bought them off eBay, right? And Vinted and places like that. And I've all bought them inexpensively. Before they were super fancy. And I was a bit slimmer then. So some of them I don't fit anymore. So I give one to my son. It was a beautiful shirt. I probably paid 15 quid for it.
Mm.
And he loves it because of its brand. He's like 15. So he came with me when I had my fitting, right? And the chap, when we walked in, he looked at my son and said, "You're wearing one of our shirts, sir."
That's
And my son was chuffed to bits that he'd recognized it.
recognized it, yeah.
But he said, "You're missing a button, missing one of the buttons off the top button." And yeah, it'd come off somewhere.
Mm.
And he said, all of our buttons are mother of pearl handmade. He said, take the shirt off. I'll sew a new one on for you now.
Brilliant.
And
Love that.
that is what you get when you go into Toombul and Asa, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great story. That's brilliant.
And it's that attention to detail. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But there we go.
Love that. And London does that well overall. It's I don't know, maybe there's probably no better city that's got that kind of long history, prominent brands that have thrived through service and looking after their clients, and they're doubling down on that in an era when everybody's after fast, convenient, and so on. They're actually doubling down on those things that made them special in time gone by, aren't they?
Oh, they do. I mean, the guy I spoke to last week, he's an older gentleman. He said he'd worked in Toombul and Asa for 40 years. Now, when I on my first visit, I said, "Oh, part of the whole royal warrant thing, And he said,
Yeah.
only one of our shirt makers holds the royal warrant, right? So that although the warrant is over the door,
Mm.
it's actually only held by one of the guys. And so there's several guys work there, but only one actually looks after the king. So when I was in there this last week, I said to the chap, "Are you the guy?" And he said, "No, I'm not, but I used to be." I handed the warrant over to one of the other guys. I'm about to retire. He said, "I've been here 40 years." So he said, "I looked after the king for quite a long time." And
Brilliant.
he said, the difference is he doesn't come into the shop. We go to him.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I can see that.
it's amazing to think that the guy dealing with you today sorted the king out with his shirt, in the past. It's that
Uh,
connection with heritage and
yeah.
you ordinary guy walking in through the door, you can't get that anywhere else.
You can. And even just that phrase of, no, I'm not, but I handed over the warrant. There's just something there of like, yeah, that's why we love Turnbull and Asser and many of those warrant holding brands in the UK. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly. It is for me. I mean, when I see the warrant over whatever it is, because they issue the warrant to a multitude of different brands, it gives me a little confidence because I know they don't sell the warrant. It's got
Mm.
to be something that the king at the moment is the only warrant holder really, and the queen. But it's something he has personally approved, used, and that tends to. And I know he doesn't issue these warrants
Mm.
willy nilly. In fact, King Charles's first ever warrant when he was Prince of Wales was Turnbull and Asser.
Was it
He
really?
issued his warrant
Okay.
to his shirt maker,
Mm.
and it really, really means something to these brands, and they live up to it. They strive to achieve those standards. And as a customer, when you're putting your hard-earned money into something, it gives you confidence, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I love that. Great. Well, definitely keep us posted and let's move into time and watches now because I know
Okay,
you're a lover of fine watches as well as fine shirts and craftsmanship. So, what I thought would be cool is just give us a snapshot into two or three of the watches that you're enjoying now, that you're wearing more,
okay,
and tell us the story as well behind them, Ash, because I think that's
right.
probably more important than the watch in some ways, isn't it?
It is. It is for me. There's a resonance to all of the pieces that I
Mm,
have,
mm,
and I think I'm not a fine watch collector. I got to say, I'm probably limited to a few brands, but um, and I do have inexpensive brands, and one of the three I'm going to talk about today is worth nothing, but it has enormous value to me. But I'm going to start off. I'll go very quickly, and I'll send you these images so you can sort of flash them up a bit more
mm.
in
Yeah, please.
detail. As a young guy growing up, I was born 1970, so I came of age in the 80s. Really, I got my sort of adulthood when I
Mm,
was 18. So growing up in those heady days of the 80s and 90s, you were surrounded by conspicuous wealth, right? That was in at the time,
right.
not stealth wealth like it is today. Nobody had. Your sort of matte black Mercedes G Wagon. They wanted the most blingy, most fancy that you could possibly have.
Mm,
And for the wristwatch, it was the Rolex, right?
yeah.
And for most of the chaps, it would have been a Datejust back then. Nobody was interested in Submariners and
Yeah.
GMTs and all these things. It was the Datejust. That was the watch of choice for most folks. I worked my first ever job on a youth training scheme was in a garage, and the guy who owned the garage had a yellow gold day date, right, as you would
Wow.
expect.
Yeah.
So these were aspirational watches. But what I like about them is that they were aspirational for everyone. They
Mm,
weren't
mm.
associated to your class. So if you were a successful electrician or a
Yep.
bricklayer and you could afford it, the Rolex was the
Yep.
wristwatch that you demonstrated your success.
Mm,
And people had fancy sports cars with, spoilers on them and things like that and
mm,
kits.
mm.
And for me, the date just symbolized that in an era where I had no realistic expectation of ever being able to afford one. And
Yep.
I went through most of my adult life not owning a nice watch because I was in the military and I was in law enforcement. I tended to wear watches which were quite robust and tough, not expensive, and I never actually owned something nice until I was 48. So I was quite old, and I realised I was heading the career I was on in British Police Service. I was going to retire at 50. My pension matured at that age, and I thought if I don't buy a watch now, I'm never going to because I'd be retired and I won't have the funds. So one day I walked down the street in a town called Taunton
Mm-hmm.
in
Yep.
Somerset, about
Somerset.
30 miles from where I live. And I walked past a Rolex authorized dealer, and this watch was in the window. And of all of the watches I always fancied, it was a stainless steel, Datejust, fluted bezel, Jubilee bracelet, bright blue dial, but with a concealed crown clasp. So no visible clasp.
Yes.
It's the old style one, yeah?
Yep. Yep.
And it was in the window. And I thought, this is it.
Yep.
The stars had aligned. It was my father's 88th birthday. It was his birthday.
Mm,
And my son, it was a school holiday, and he was 8, and he was with me.
mm.
So we walked into that store, 3 generations, father, son, and grandson.
Mm.
And I bought that watch. And it was the first ever
Beautiful.
luxury item that I ever owned.
Yeah, I love that.
I love it. I still wear it for about 5 months of the year. I tend to wear it in the winter
Mm.
because it fits me better in the winter. One of the downsides to this clasp arrangement is it's not very flexible.
Yeah.
You either put a link in or you take a link out. That's it,
Yep.
right? There's
Yep.
no sort of micro adjustment. And for me, it fits perfectly in the cooler months where my wrist is a little smaller. In the
Yeah.
summer, when my blood pressure goes up a little, it's a touch too tight, and I'm a bit finicky with the fit of my watches. I like them just so.
Yeah.
But for me, and the other thing I like about this one is the older model. So it's got, you can't see it now, but I'll show you the image. It's got the roulette
Ah,
date
the date wheel.
dial.
Yeah, the red
So
and
on
yeah.
odd days, you
Nice.
get a
Nice touch.
red date,
Yeah.
and on even days, you get a black one. And the blue and the red together, I look forward to the odd days because they just
Yeah.
look spot on.
And
But that was my first ever luxury watch, and a watch
that's a
which
blue
I'll.
dial, did you say?
It's the bright blue dial, the
Yeah,
sunburst
beautiful.
dial,
Yeah.
and
We'll show them in the
it's
overlay.
oh, they're beauties, but it's the piece which I'll pass on to my son, and hope it'll go down the family line. So that was
Yeah. It's a
probably
utterly timeless piece, though, isn't it? It
they
really
are,
you could pass it on to your son, and he could pass it on to his child back,
yeah.
many, many years to come. They
And
are beautiful pieces.
what I like about Rolex is they offer different sizes as well. So I'm a smaller guy, well, medium. I take a medium in all my clothes.
Mm.
So I like the 36 millimeter dial. Right? It's not a small watch at 30. It's chunky for 36 because it's a hefty watch. But for me, that's a beautiful fit. Whereas obviously, if you're a much larger man or you like larger watches, they also do it in 41 millimeters. So I like the
Yep.
fact that Rolex often give you options, which is not that common in all the other brands.
Mm, mm.
So that was one.
Yeah.
That was one.
That.
My second watch is this one here. This is a
Nice.
Cartier Santos.
Yep.
It came on a metal bracelet, which I've still got somewhere. It came with another leather bracelet as well, actually, in fairness to Cartier. They are quite generous when you buy one. But I actually splashed out and bought myself a black bracelet for it because I thought it would be more flexible in the way I wear my clothes.
Mm,
And I always liked square or rectangular wristwatches.
mm, mm.
Always did. And I tried on, oh, I don't know, I can't tell you how many times I tried on the JLC Reverso
Yep. Yeah, I
because
love that watch.
everybody talks about that watch, don't they?
Yep.
And I tried it on everywhere I went. I went to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, place like that, and I was always trying the damn watch on. And I just never felt right for
Mm.
some reason.
Yep.
The small was too small, the medium was just
Yep.
not my dimensions. And I almost talked myself
Yep.
into buying it, to be honest.
Just to interrupt, I totally agree with you. I don't own that piece, and I want to, and I've tried on a number of them, And I totally agree. It's either too bulky or it's a really is a lady's watch.
Yeah.
And I think the secret is to go vintage, to go older. I was at a watch gathering recently, and there was a chap there with a very, very old, I'm talking like 1950s Reverso, and it was stunning. I was asked, is it for sale? He's like, no, 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 no. I'm not sorry. But you can't find them. They're really, really tough to get. And it just had that slimness with enough size, but they're few and far between, aren't they?
Oh, they are. And like you say, I want to love it. I
Yeah.
want to love it because it's history, the polo and
Yeah.
the reason
Exactly.
why the Reverso came
Yeah.
into being, and it's got a good reason to exist.
Mm.
And I like that, because I'm married to the heritage of things, it means something
Yes.
to me, history. But I was in London 24, March 24th. I was on a trip with my son. We were just school holiday. And as we often do, I used to take him up to London, go to the museums and what have you. My wife was working. And we were walking down New Bond Street. And I said, let's go into the Cartier boutique. I just want to try on a Santos to see if it's the one, right? And then I'll think about, maybe letting something go to let it in because I'm at the point I don't buy things now unless something leaves because
Yes.
it just
Same
it
here.
just gets
Yeah.
it gets out of hand, doesn't it?
It's
So
hard to justify, isn't
for
it?
something new to come in, something old's got to
Yeah.
go out.
Yeah.
And I thought I'll try it on. And lo and behold, I walked in, I put it on my wrist, and I thought, "Wow, this is what I've been looking for,"
Yeah. No.
and amazingly, as having been a Rolex customer up to this point, the lady said, "Yeah, you can have it now if you like." And I thought, "What? You mean, I don't have
Never
to
heard that, do you?
I don't have to take you out to dinner or have, or father your children. You're just
Or
going to
buy all
get,
this other stuff.
you're just going to let me spend my money on a watch and walk out with it. Yeah,
Mm.
what a bizarre concept."
Who'd have thought?
So, I know. So yeah, that's what happened. And
Lovely piece.
I
Really
very
nice.
rarely actually. I went for the white dial because for me it was the most flexible. I wanted to wear it with a variety of clothes.
Mm.
Now, of course, you can get it in chocolate brown, you can get it in bright blue, you can get it in God knows whatever.
Yeah.
But for me, the white is the classic and the elegant. I intended to wear it on a bracelet from the get go. Comes with a nice little deployment clasp and everything as well. So yeah, and it's a
Lovely.
royal warrant holder. Cartier hold the royal warrant. So
That's
yeah, another
beautiful.
thing me and the king have in common. But
They're,
I
they're making
really,
great,
really like
great
that one.
watches, aren't they, at the moment, Cartier? I think
Oh God, I tell you, I
they've really
really
upped
like it.
their game. Yeah, beautiful.
I mean, it feels less substantial than a Rolex, obviously, but it's 100 meters of water resistance. It's a tough little watch. It shouldn't be babied, even though people have in their mind it's a dress watch. But I don't treat it like that. I wear all my watches in normal life, and that's a really nice one. I do
I
like that
think
one.
I think the what I love about Cartier, where watch brands are striving for more complicated, more stuff, more. Cartier are totally open about it. They talk about the highest complication is elegance.
Mm,
And I love that because they're so right to keep something, to actually say no, to push that away and say, no, we're sticking with, we're going to make incredibly beautiful, designed, elegant pieces. We do elegance. It's really quite difficult. You actually
oh, it
have to
is.
refuse the trends sometimes. And I think they're doing that
Oh yeah.
really,
I
really
mean,
well.
they um they're quite they look. I mean, if you look at the Cartier Santos from I don't know 1904, whatever it was, the first one, they still look the same. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
they've evolved, they've got better, but they've retained the elegance through the centuries now. And unlike many of the other brands, I mean, they seem to be caught up in this war to get the most accurate watch, right? Now,
Yeah.
I don't give a monkey, right? I don't live my life by a fraction of a second. For me, the Rolex level of what, plus minus 2 seconds a day, that's way beyond my expectation, right? I
Yes.
have no
Yeah.
need for that.
I
Now you're
agree.
going
I
into
agree.
even more accurate pieces with even more complicated. It just needs to tell the time. And I think you've said, we don't really wear watches to tell the time anymore.
No, it's
It's
what it is, isn't
pseudo
it?
jewelry. It is pseudo jewelry, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is.
So for me, Cartier, I mean, even in their precious materials, I think I mentioned, I held a platinum Cartier a little while ago, and oh, You know,
Mm,
that is something from another planet of elegance.
mm.
So yeah, that's for me.
Fascinating. All right, last one then.
You're going to be surprised at this one. It's no
Mm,
material value at all, and it is a very, very simple watch. It's a very small watch.
mm.
It is a Timex, right? It is a Timex little gold-plated quartz watch. Now, hold on to your hats. I know people are
Wow.
already
Mm.
flinging their excrement at the screen, but for me, this watch was a gift from a very close personal friend of mine,
Yep.
and it's quite small. I mean, to put it into perspective, if I hold it up next to the Santos, you can see the
Mm.
Santos is not a huge
Yeah.
watch,
Hmm.
but it's sort of this one is dwarfed by it,
Mm.
and it's just a little Timex, quite an old-fashioned dial. It's got lots of sort of
Mm.
reflections going on in there. I don't know how old it is. I'm guessing it's probably from the 70s. I put
It's
a
lovely. To be honest, when you first put it up there, it really actually looked a bit like a JLC because there's sort of you can see some like
yeah.
work on the bezel there at the
It
top
is.
bottom.
There's lots of different finishes going on there,
Yeah, it looks really
and it's just
cool.
time only, no second hand. Very very simple. But when and of all of the watches that I own, I used to wear this quite a lot with tuxedo or black tie.
Mm.
This watch has had more compliments than any other watch that I have ever owned, because people
Wow.
will look across. You can't even see it doesn't have a Timex logo on it,
Mm.
a recognizable one for me anyway. So it looks like a very expensive watch.
Mm.
And I can't tell you the number of times people have looked over and said, "What a beautiful watch. What is
Yeah.
that?"
Yeah.
And when I've said a Timex, you can see a flush of disgust coming over their face because, you get these snobs who expect you to be wearing something expensive. But I really like this watch because of, I don't know, it's a bit subversive. It's beautiful. It is amazing. It's more accurate than any other watch I
Yeah.
own
The
because it's
quartz. Yeah.
actually quartz, and it's achieved more compliments. And if anything, I wear it to prove the point that you can be incredibly stylish and elegant, and you do not have to spend the price of a small car for your
Absolutely.
wrist.
Yeah.
And of course, it came from a very close personal friend who I don't see anymore. He now lives abroad, so I don't get the opportunity to see him that often. But when I wear this watch, which he gave me,
Mm.
it always reminds me of him, a good old buddy
Lovely.
of mine who I served with. So it is. It has sentimental resonance as well as its aesthetic beauty, which just shows you don't have to be a rich man
Very
to be a
true.
smart man.
Watch collecting is for everyone, and I think it's actually quite easy to be sucked into the whole expensive, gaudy, this, that, and the other. And sure, like they have their place, some of those brands that we've talked about today, but they are not absolutely part of the game. You buy watches that you love and you buy them for you, and there's a budget that rolls out great watches for everybody, isn't there? And Timex, they're doing some great stuff. Like, have you seen their sort of throwback GMT pieces that they've been
Oh
producing?
yeah, yeah,
Beautiful. They're really cool
yeah.
watches. Then they're
They're
like
going,
a couple of £100 or less, aren't they?
yeah, they're really playing with the colors, aren't they? There's some
Yeah.
nice colors they've got coming out, but yeah, they do very well.
Nice. So I know you've got a really nice fragrance collection as well. So give us a few snapshots, Ash, into
Okay,
what you're enjoying in your fragrances. Let's see if I'm sure it'll
okay,
live
do.
up to those
So
beautiful pictures.
I'll go fairly swiftly with these because I know we've
Sure.
talked a long time. So, uh, I don't like to spend big money on fragrances, right? So I know you've got some big hitters in your collection, but I will not go over 200 quid for fragrance, right? Because,
That's fair.
I'd
Yeah.
expect
And you
car
don't need to.
insurance.
Yeah.
That's what I spend for my car insurance every year. So
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
I feel I would, but, the boss wouldn't let me. So, mine are affordable, actually,
Yeah.
relatively affordable. So what I wear probably this time of year, springtime here in the UK, I find it very difficult not
Oh,
to love
lovely.
Chanel.
Yeah.
I own every one of the Chanel fragrances for men.
Do you? Really?
And,
Wow. Good for you.
well, not the sort of bespokey weird stuff, but just the
Yeah.
mainstream stuff. And they're all good. I don't
Yeah.
think there's a single duff fragrance in the Chanel catalogue.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not in love with Gentleman, is it? Their first ever one, or Monsieur,
Yes.
whatever they call
Yeah.
it, the French version, Monsieur.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's all right. A little bit weak for my taste. But I do love Egoist. I wear that in the winter
Yeah.
months,
Yeah.
Platinum Egoist.
I have that.
I,
It's lovely, isn't it?
I'm a big fan of they go to Antaeus is
Yeah, I saw
takes
your
me
review
right
on that.
back to the 90s when I put that
Yeah,
one on.
love that.
But Chanel Blue, in its many formats, I think is a very serviceable day-to-day fragrance. It's not special, but it's a very serviceable day-to-day fragrance. So that's why I mentioned that one.
I agree with you.
That's the parfum version.
I think it is good. And on that, I have that as well. And I didn't own it. And then I went out for a dinner date with a friend and his wife, and he smelled incredible. I'm not ashamed to say it. And I was like, "What are you wearing?" Because it's just
Mm.
beautiful. And he's like, "Oh, it's Bleu de Chanel Parfum." And I was like, "That is stunning." And I bought it in the duty free the next time I got on an aeroplane. And it's high performing, super fresh, beautiful fragrance, isn't it?
It's a cracker, and if I'm ever I've got a quite a large fragrance collection, I'm afraid to say. But when I stand in front of the drawer and I think, what am I going to wear? And I really can't decide. I tend to reach for Bleu
That's your go-to.
because it kind of hits everything. Whatever you're going to do that day, whether you're going to the gym, whether you're going to a meeting, whether you're, going up into the woods, it kind of fits the bill. So I
Yeah,
quite like
nice.
that one.
Good
So
start.
going a little bit, also a bit vintagey, Habit Rouge by Guerlain. Another fragrance house, which I'm very fond of. I don't think they are quite as well stacked as Chanel,
Mm,
with all perennial greats. But Habit Rouge, I
mm,
really do like because there's a velvety richness to it. It's an evening fragrance for me. It's not something I
mm.
would wear throughout the day.
Yeah.
Um, but it was rumored to be the favorite fragrance of Sean Connery. And that's one of the reasons why I liked it originally. I can see I've used a fair bit of this one.
Mm, mm.
But for me, it's a rich, velvety, almost floral scent, which feels sophisticated. And when I smell it on
Yes.
another chap somewhere, I mean, you don't smell it that often. That's one of the beauties
Yeah.
of Guerlain stuff in general, to be honest. But when you catch the whiff of it somewhere, you think, ooh, there's somebody here who's
Yeah.
thought about what they're going to wear. And that's normally a good insight
What's
that
the
the person,
concentration on that one, Ash?
that is a parfum,
Parfum.
eau de
Oh, nice.
parfum.
Yeah.
So
I think like some men are intimidated slash afraid of like rose and more floral fragrances. They see it as feminine, but actually, like something like that is absolutely not. It punches, but it's not a feminine fragrance either, is it?
no, no, it's masculine. Well, Sean Connery wore it. What can I
There
say?
you go.
Call him feminine to his
Yeah,
face.
that's it. Nice.
And another fragrance house, German Street in London. Now,
I
I
thought I
don't
knew these guys were going to come up.
you know they come here somewhere. I
Yeah,
don't love their stuff. I got to be honest. I think florists, for the most part, a lot of their fragrances are a little bit weak.
yeah,
They don't
yeah.
last too long, and they're climbing up in price. Right? They're
Mm,
getting into the £200-300 category these days.
mm, mm.
This is Florist Elite. It's one
Hmm.
of their old ones. It's from their old catalogue, and for me, this is a very manly fragrance. I can't put a picture, sort of put a finger on why it feels like that to me, but it smells businesslike, it smells professional, and it just hits the bill for a day, maybe when I'm dressed as I am now. Right? I was
Yes.
filming videos earlier. I don't normally wear a shirt and tie knocking around the house, but when I just want to feel a little bit well put together, Elite does it for me. It's a nice one. Everybody goes in there and buys number 89
Mm,
because,
mm.
it's a
Yes.
loose association with James Bond,
Mm,
or 127 because it's a loose association with Winston Churchill.
mm.
It's their other stuff, their older stuff, which is really quite old and manly, which I gravitate towards, I think. So
Mm,
that's
mm.
that one. And I'm going to
Yeah.
give you a bonus one.
Yeah,
A
do it,
bonus one.
please.
This is one I don't wear very often, right? And it's a bit like what you mentioned with Taylor of Bond Street. It's just up the road.
Yes.
It is
Oh, yeah, lovely.
Eucharist by George Trumper. Now, this is only a 15 milliliter bottle because the stuff is so powerful.
Nuclear.
It is, I've often described this, it smells like a Bond villain in liquid form, right? So you imagine those men who are
Let's see if you can get
scheming.
that on their website and they can.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
right. So these really alpha males who are attempting to take over the world, right? It's a really odd connection, a collection of like black currant and there's a certain pepperiness in there, but it's unique. I mean,
Mm.
I've walked into rooms and I've smelled this in the air and I thought, "Pff, you feel like I'm making an announcement, you know?
Mm.
Is there
Yeah,
somebody in the room wearing you, Chris?
you filler. Yeah,
Because if there is, I want to come and have a chat to you because
yeah,
I know you're a special guy.
yeah,
I can only get away with wearing this about 3 or 4 times a year when I'm at my very peak of, alpha male sort of
yeah,
mentality.
yeah,
But wow, what a fragrance. It's not cheap. It's about 100 quid for a small bottle, actually.
yeah,
And they do a whole range of shaving creams and stuff as well, which I do use occasionally. But it's a
yeah.
real personality. Now, I don't know about you, because you like your fragrances also, but I have found but so many modern fragrances conform to a bloody template. They're sweet, they're sickly, particularly modern releases. And to find a fragrance which has got balls is a rarity. And you've got to
Yeah.
look back in time to find them.
Yeah, no, that's a really good shout. Like I saw, I think it was the either the fragrance or the shaving cream that review that you did on your channel, and I picked up you, Chris, the shaving cream. I don't have the fragrance, and it's very different. It's like, and I think shaving is the perfect time to experience that because in the morning you kind of what who am I going to be today? And to use yours, it's like, right, today I'm going to be the Bond villain. I'm going to shave. Yeah, right now I am this Bond villain. But it's I said it about Roger's Apex, the fragrance. In a different way, you spray that and you're like, wow, I'm going to take this day on today.
Hmm.
And these things do change your state, don't they? They have this very, very strange way of just putting you in a different place and time.
I, I
Those,
totally
those ones are great.
I totally use fragrance for that very purpose. So if I need to hype myself up for the day, if I've got something big on, if I'm giving a big presentation or a talk to a group or whatever, I go for the fragrances which I know are going to give me the punch, are going to
Yeah.
boost my personality, and it really does work for me. And if I want a quiet, sort of more calm day, I'll spray a fragrance on which I know is, quite calming and relaxing. And it totally changes my character when I put a
Yes.
different fragrance on.
Love that. Well, really appreciate you sharing your insights there, both the watches and the fragrance. I love that. I think my pick on the piece on the watches has got to be that date just with the Jubilee. It's totally,
Yeah,
totally iconic, isn't it? I love
it's a
that.
cracker.
Yeah. And I do like Floris. I actually thought there's one there that I have called Santal. They're Santal. It's a stunning fragrance, but does not perform particularly well. You don't wear that. You put it on for a couple of hours and then it's just
Santal. Now, I think I've got Santal. Is that the one that's got hints of sort of cool water and green Irish tweed to it?
little bit, and then a bit of
Hmm.
like sort of cedar woody kind of dry down as well.
Yeah,
It is lovely. So yeah, no, appreciate that. Let's see what the shirts look like in a few weeks and months, and get you back on for a follow up. And
for
uh,
sure.
everybody watching, I'll link Ash's channel in the description so you can click and go straight over. And what have you got coming up over the next sort of weeks and months on your channel, Ash? Where are you going to take things?
Well, every sort of May, I disembark. I'm a very much outdoorsman, right? I love the outdoors, and I'm kind of semi-retired, so I always make sure that my May is a quiet time of the year for me, work-wise. So I make sure May is empty, and I have access to a patch of land, which I set up a tent and I stay there for 2 to 3 weeks. And I film videos relating to being outdoors, mindfulness, strength of character, personal development. And that's what I plan to do. Sit by the fire and discuss.
Oh, brilliant.
I made the mistake. Well, not the mistake. I asked my viewers the other day to send questions in that they would like me to discuss. I've got about a month's work there. So I can see I'll be releasing a video a day for about a month in May. So I'm going to have a great time outdoors
Awesome.
in, I call it Oak Camp because it's in an oak forest. So it's that's on the horizon for me. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's fantastic. I look forward to that as well. And yeah, definitely check out Ash's stuff. It's a really nice blend of watch reviews and fragrance stuff, but also that personal development and self-improvement. I think that's kind of what it's all about, really, in general, Ash, isn't it?
Oh yeah, nail on the head. And it's ever evolving. So, I don't set myself any sort of
Yeah.
brackets. I'll go down any path which people ask me to. So I'm happy to pursue any angle.
Love it. All right. Well, thanks again for your time. Great to see you. And thanks for watching, everybody, as well.
Cheers, Brendan. Goodbye, everyone.